Welcome again, or welcome back to Diversity is the Game Changer. And today is very special, honorable episode for me. Probably my audience who is watching, following my path, been a little bit absent, not upset to the Cannesfield Festival, which is amazing, of course, very rich of emotions, different type of emotions, which very easy to lose your grounding. But I've shared already with my guest, the discipline disabled. I was meditating 2 times per day. I try to keep my mindfulness at a certain level as possible, but still this sometimes it can be really overwhelming. And today I'm so happy to welcome my guest and just mentioning now and already getting the spirit of the subject we are going to discuss. Give me the special vibration, like it's like healing vibes for me. I'm back to my spirit, my aura. And welcome to my very special guest, Jonathan Reynolds. And the episode of our the no 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 the title of our episode today, it's mindful leadership, diverse thinking, and the power of presence. And of course, it will be talk. We will be speaking, talking, discussing mindset social, the world's first truly mindful social media platform. This is really game changing. So, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being with us today and giving and sharing the most valuable message we are going to discuss. Welcome from all my heart.
Thank you so much, Val. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Thank you. And I'm just continue a little bit because I know all my guests, they are so diversified, beautiful, and deep souls, and most usually they are actually not into bragging, but I'm not calling that bragging. Of course, everything is deserved by hard job and accomplishment. So I would like to introduce. Um, it will be my turn, and then we will be specifically touching all the angles of uh, your divine personality, which actually have created the special tool, which is, I believe, it's really divine. So meet our guest again. Like I said, I hope I pronounced correctly. It's Jonathan Reynolds, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yes. Amazing. Founder and CEO of Mindful Life, Mindful Work. Jonathan is a trailblazer at the intersection of self-awareness, team performance, and inclusive leadership. His mindfulness based leadership strategies are helping organizations align with their purpose, build trust, and perform with emotional intelligence at the core. As I have already mentioned, you are also the founder of Mindset Social platform. It's the world's first truly mindful social media platform designed to cultivate intentional connection and community online. And yes, it's completely free, but you will be, of course, sharing more about that. I could continue about the importance, everything you have been created and engaged, but of course, I would like to use more time by listening, learning, and gaining knowledge from you. And first of all, before we actually are coming to this platform and all your success and achievements you are sharing now. So one day it was just a little boy. The name was Jonathan, right?
Mm.
And for me, it's always very interesting to jump a little bit backwards. But we know always our backwards or our childhood. It's actually what create us, our mindset today, and our long lasting echoes are with us the whole life. So please welcome us to the a little world of big or big world, maybe big imaginational world already, of this little boy named Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question and happy to sort of share the foundation of where I came from and how I saw that playing out and setting the seeds for where I am today. So I grew up in a small town in the Midwest in Wisconsin, a state in the center of the United States. I grew up in a very small town. And I was a very sensitive kid. I was, when I look back and sort of say, well, what were the foundations of my interest in mindfulness and mindful practice and self-awareness? There's lots of things. I sort of got interested in the word India very early on in my childhood. I liked Indian food. Every time India was mentioned, it was a source of curiosity for me. And nothing came of it at the time, but it felt like a seed had been planted now in retrospect. And even things like when my family was getting ready to go to school, and a household can be chaotic when that's happening, I always wanted to go back into my room and sit for just a minute with my eyes closed on the bed after we were all ready to go, just before we left. Just it felt like a reset. It felt like something, and I wasn't doing anything specific. It just felt like a pause was a really useful thing.
Mm-hmm.
There were other indicators. Early on in my childhood, I had this strange experience of when I'd say my own name, I felt like I was lying because my name stayed the same, but I kept changing and growing. So I recognized, I think, early on that language and things like that are constructs and are useful constructs, but they don't really point to the reality of the phenomenological and experiential being that we are. And so little indicators. I loved fishing as a kid, which those of you that fish know there's a lot of patience in fishing. You're sitting around doing nothing a lot. And so that really, I think, cultivated a sense of attention. And it wasn't all good. I grew up in a small town where there was some dysfunction. So in my teen years, I drank a lot. And that, I think, set a foundation. I think one of the things that happened is my sensitivity wasn't really being met in a way that I needed it to be met. And so I dulled it, I numbed it because it was a coping mechanism. And then soon after college, I looked in the mirror like everybody hopefully does after college, and I was sort of at a loss for what I wanted to do with my life. And I thought, well, if balancing my checkbook and learning to drive a car is all there is to life, it's going to be a very sad 80 years. It's going to be a sad life. So I got very curious in what else was out there, and mostly what was in there. And so started doing things like meditation and yoga and self-development practices. Loved the changes I was seeing in myself, so wanted to share them. And so started coaching almost immediately. Wasn't calling it coaching, wasn't getting paid to do it, just loved being useful to people who wanted some support. So over the years, I trained to be a therapist. My practice codified. Been meditating now for almost 3 decades. And so really let it grow organically. I might have mentioned trained to be a therapist. And then at a certain point, I wanted to scale my sphere of influence. So started to surround myself with people doing interesting work, sort of aligned work, but distinct work. So I could be in bigger conversations with companies. And then in 2018, I really started doing the work distinctly around 2011. But in 2018, formed Mindful Life, Mindful Work into a C corporation here in the United States, offering B2B services, coaching, consulting, training, and assessments. Everything we've always offered is remote. I'm not a big tech guy, but I like remote because I think it offers a lot of freedom and flexibility for myself and clients and team members. And then started over the last 3 years to build out a B2C arm and to really land in a place where now we offer 5 distinct buckets. Mindful Community, which is a social media network, which we'll talk about more. Mindful Products, which is an e-commerce website that is open to people creating amazing things. Mindful Services, which is our traditional thing. Mindful Events, we're doing our first in-person Mindful Affinity trip to Phoenix, Arizona, coming up in September, just bringing together good people. I just want to travel with people that are interested in a rich inner life. So it's a way to do that. And then, of course, mindful content. And we have some plans for maybe a mindful news network to emerge over the next 5 years or so. So just trying to infect the world with good social change and to have people engaged in a more robust conversation than sort of surface level things that, as we're finding now post-COVID, people want meaning and purpose. They just don't want to go to work and make money. They want to go to work, make money, and feel good because they're making a positive change in the world. And so that's why mindful life, mindful work.
Wow, what a powerful and beautiful message. First of all, I would like to thank you for sharing openly about your childhood and ups and downs, and how actually you came to mindfulness, right? Uh, it's I don't think normal, because we all are unique. Our life and life path are unique, but more and more I can focus on that people actually are coming to mindfulness. Maybe not like in Buddhism, because we live under different circumstance and context. First of all, we kind of, all of us maybe experience some adversity, or we try to find the question, the solutions that, like, first, like you mentioned, like, you know, how you felt, how your all your needs, they have not been met uh, with, I don't know, answers, and the feeling that it was nice for your heart. And actually, all this way, first we all kind of find different shortcuts, right? And they don't work. And for many people, it takes many decades actually to calm that mindfulness, and small steps and discipline, and kind of, yes, hard job every single day, little bit of changes can give sustainable results, right? So first of all, I liked very much now what you have shared about the names, how you could reflect from your childhood that it's true, you have been changed, developed, evolved, but the same name. It was not like uh, how you could really like feel that it's here, because in my language, in our culture, we have a lot of nicknames actually, and it can be really so numerous of them, and some people actually can even develop and fantasy your specific name and put on you. It kind of always relate to the context, so you are actually have so many identities, so which actually, me particular, I liked very much, because it just, the way the person makes this name for you can describe everything, like like the distance, the approach, your friends, or it's very, or it's distance, or everything. So name, it's true, it's actually, it's very important for us, and how we pronounce and talk to ourselves, right? So it's very interesting reflection. And India, and of course Buddhism and Tibet, and a lot of countries, and philosophy and wisdom, which came luckily quite early in your life and saved so many years, and that's why you are giving and saving so many other souls. Maybe if suddenly somebody uh, turn the button and start listening our episode from discussion about mindfulness, I believe many people already like aware, not aware, but could at least hear this terminology or something. But I've already mentioned to you that in this book, which is Bible to Mindfulness, today I wanted just to, recap before our episode. And it was a very short terminology or determination about mindfulness. How John Kabat-Zinn, he told about that, right? It's mindfulness, it's momentum to momentum, not judgmental awareness. But for the people, like, like of different ages and different level of awareness, if suddenly, and even teenagers can hear this episode between me and you, and they really don't know what it is, could you explain what actually mindfulness mean for you? What actually is really plain, not childish, but like, if it's kids like 8th, 10th grade, what actually mindful? Because many people still when grown up, but okay, Valeria, but what is mindfulness? What is mindfulness for you? Thank you.
I'll answer that, and then I want to touch on a couple of the other excellent points that you made right after.
Thank you so much.
So I like John Kabat-Zinn's definition around non-judgmental For me, though, there's a really important piece where our mind likes to control things or explain them. And when
Mm-hmm.
we explain, we plane. To plane in English means to flatten. Like we plane a board. There's a machine that planes a board and makes it flat. So when we
Oh.
explain, we plane something and we control it, we define it. But when we explore something, to plore is to drill deep into something like a drill. And so when we explore something, it's endless discovery. And so it's difficult because when we use language, it can never touch upon the direct experience of what the thing is. We can talk about the way an orange tastes all day, but that doesn't tell us what it tastes like. We have to bite into an orange to know what it tastes like. And so the same thing with mindfulness. Definitions always fall short of the experience. So that's the first thing that I'll say. Does it have qualities like non-judgmental, kind, compassionate, expansive, and focused simultaneously? Yes. There is one quality that I think is often missed in what I like in a definition of mindfulness, and that is the word continuity. I think when we cultivate mindfulness, it's not just an instant, it starts to spread out in our lives in a way that we're mindful more often than not. And it doesn't mean we still have gaps and we're still human and we still make mistakes and we still act poorly at times, but we extend those moments of being mindful. And so that continuity, I think, emerges over time with practice.
Mm-hmm.
So is it focus? Is it attention? Is it awareness? It's all of those things. And it's more of a process and a phenomenological experiential experience than a thing. There's no
Mm-hmm.
thing mindfulness. It's like Thich Nhat Hanh says, there is no enlightenment. There's only enlightened activity.
Mm-hmm.
And so the same is true of mindfulness. Are we mindful in this moment? Well, to the best of our ability, we are. But is there this thing, mindfulness, that we can put in a jar and give to somebody? No. And that's why when we're talking about psycho-spiritual things like mindfulness and self-awareness, it's why they can seem very elusive until we taste them. And the moment we taste them, we want to eat a lot of it. And so for me, mindfulness sort of falls in that realm of process. Um, and so practicing mindfulness is to bring us back to the atmosphere or the tendency or the predisposition to be mindful. But that's what makes it a living practice. And no matter how long you've practiced mindfulness, you still fall out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, but you keep learning how to come back, and you learn that the falling out is a shorter time period. Your recovery time is much shorter. You get hooked by things that upset you, but the recovery time back to being in your center and being yourself. And we don't want to lose the capacity to feel high or even low emotions. When we're mindful, our capacity to experience the full range of our humanness expands. So we don't become this perfectly still person. We don't get to a place where we don't have any thoughts that are upsetting. That's not the point. The point is to relate to the thoughts we do have in a new way with a new perspective and a new maturity. And that is the practice. And so that relates to the other piece that I want to mention that you alluded to, which is practice time. I've practiced almost 3 decades, but if somebody said, "Oh, are you going to practice 3 decades more?" That sounds exhausting. I'd probably quit if that was the project. My job is only to practice today, and then today when it's tomorrow, and today when it's 2 days from now. And time takes care of itself. I'm not worried about time. Time is none of my business. My business is practice. My business is planting the seed today that may or may not ripen tomorrow. But my job isn't to make it ripen. My job is to practice. And then I also want to touch on your point around nicknames. I've never heard nicknames articulated in the way that you articulated them, and I really like it. And because I think it really does touch on that fact that we're different in different contexts. We have nicknames when we're in high school, or college nicknames, or friend groups, or these sorts of things. And they are our identities. They are different facets of the diamond of ourself. So I really like that you can have different names. We want to maintain a core that has integrity, of course, but the fact that there's this fluidity is really freeing and much more in line with the way reality is. We don't want to become calcified. We don't want to be the same person. Whenever a politician is criticized for changing their perspective on an issue, I think it's so foolish, because new information, new development, if their perspective never changed, that would be a problem. It should evolve. It should grow. Gandhi said, when he was asked why two comments on the same topic were contradictory, which was true, he said, well, the most recent one. Of course, the most recent one is the most true, because things change. And so, back to the practice of mindfulness, mindfulness is that capacity to be responsive, to know the appropriate response in any given moment. And that includes the entire context, and then what the response is, what the action is. Mindfulness makes us sensitive relationally.
Yes, thank you so much. And if you talk about practicing, actually, or in another reframing, like also like discipline, actually practicing, yes, it's so true that even some days, if you kind of really put out of your, I don't know, normal context, and you are kind of going short of practicing on your daily speed, I don't know, so you feel like now I've been to the Cannes festival, I don't uh, I don't tell or say people, oh, you shouldn't go there, it's so chaotic. It's completely different experience, and so many energies, so many disturbing factors, actually, that you really can be present here and now and kind of at your speed. And you have to, for me now, it's actually also one of the tool to get balance back now, like to be grounded. And like you have already brilliantly mentioned, that I felt kind of scarcity last 5 days, but now I pour a little bit more every day. And then, because already I've been there, so the neuroplasticity, everything, they are aligned much faster. But what are actually your daily practices, and what could you please advise maybe to people that would like to start practicing mindfulness, but they kind of now overwhelmed with bombarding thousands of sources on internet, on podcasts, or maybe just some opinions by friends? Because I remember myself 3 years ago, before the war started in Ukraine, I tried a little bit, but I really didn't know where to start from. And I was so afraid to start in the, I don't know, wrong direction, because there is never like the second chance to get the first impression. And now I know, actually, it's always the right time. Like you said, it's never, actually, it's always the right answer. It's always the right place to start. It's actually not about that everything inside, it's not this external factors. But I didn't have that awareness there, and I tried couple of times, and like many people also, meditation is not for me. And funny for me also now that many people say, I don't have to practice that, because they don't also, it's not to find the time to practice that. It's like you said, it's the condition where actually you just extend, because it's changed. It's not what you are doing with yourself and you find the time. It's actually, you should start practicing to actually understand. Like you said, apple or orange, you can explain, or music, it's just 7 notes. You can just really try to explain, like, Tchaikovsky, and just that it's just 7 notes, the same 7 notes, right? You have to listen to that. So, but for people who really like kind of scared, but so already maybe engaged to try where to try, how not to be scared, what actually, how to start beating this starter, or not like,
Hmm.
oh, that's not for me.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
For about the first 3 years of my practice, I pretended to meditate. Everybody starts where they start. You don't know. Nobody knows what they're doing in the beginning.
No.
I tasted little bits. I was curious enough, and my intuition said there was value here. So I was willing to do it pretty much every day for those 3 years. And for the most part, I was just messing around. And so the thing is all practice is good practice. When the Buddha was asked, what's the best practice? His response was, the one you do, the practice that you do. Because some days I'm falling asleep on the cushion. Some days I'm razor sharp and very alert. Sometimes I'm very expansive. We practice to learn about the complexity of ourselves, because we're curious about who we are. I mean, that's the ultimate spiritual question: is who am I? And so that's the first piece: is start where you are, which you've said. I like really simple things. I like simple practices. Even more core to my personal growth than mindfulness has been simplicity. I like Occam's razor. All things considered equal, the simplest explanation is the best. So I like to pare things away or prune things away. And so I suggest a very simple practice. With some of my clients, I say, well, can you meditate for 1 minute a day? And they all laugh because they think that's funny. And then I say, but can you do it every day for a whole year? And then they realize that the value of practice isn't how long you meditate for in any one sit. It's that you build a new muscle and habit that supports your recognition of there's an inner life that's valuable in exploring. And so simple breath awareness, there are traditional practices where you put your awareness on your belly or your chest where the breath is easier to watch because the breath is challenging to watch. It's a subtle thing. But then you practice and you see what comes up with no agenda, with no, oh, I'm supposed to be calm, or I'm supposed to feel better afterwards, or it's supposed to be blissed out. No, you just practice and you see. It's an experiment. You don't want to have somebody else's experience. You want to have your own insights into your own experience. And so we do that by observing the breath and being in our experience in a way that is new, and often is very uncomfortable to new people to practice because they're not used to it. Most of our lives are spent busy and keeping ourselves busy, because if we slow down, we'll feel our feelings. And so the moment we slow down, we really start to feel stuff. And so this is where having sometimes a guide, and please join Mindset Social if listeners are interested. We're creating a community that can practice together. So having a guide is nice. Having a community, having other people to practice with is supportive. So if there's a meditation group in your community, again, we offer them online, but if there's one in person, that works really great too. So these things are really important. And the reason to practice is because when we have a tough 3 or 5 day stretch, or a tough 3 or 5 year stretch, we know deep down that there's a baseline to come back to, that practice can reset us. Without that reset, we're just tumbling endlessly in every direction and feeling ungrounded. Somebody with a practice still feels ungrounded, but they always know they can put up a sail and have a heading towards home. Somebody without a sail is just in a boat bobbing up and down, hoping the wind or the current pushes them in some direction. We want to go some direction. We want to go towards more integration, more peace, more ease, more contentment, more compassion, more functionality, better performance in life and love and work. And that's the reason to practice. We practice because when we know ourselves better, everything is better.
Yeah, it's true. I love about 1 minute that you have mentioned that, because I don't remember which book. I've been reading, but it was kind of the same example, and the author just elaborated like, uh, it actually doesn't have to be that enormous amount of time during the day, and it has been said that there is huge difference between, okay, if you don't have 10 minutes this day, take 5 minutes. If you don't have 5, take 3 minutes. If you don't have 3 minutes, take 2. If you don't have 2, just 1. It's still difference, but not that huge. But the difference between 0 minute and 1 minute is the ocean.
Yeah. At the end of the year, if you practice 1 minute a day, you'll have
Yeah.
meditated 365 minutes. If you practice 0, you got 0.
Yeah. Then this is huge, because in our like fast-paced world, we believe, what is about 1 minute? There is nothing. Okay, when I'm practicing my plank and staying on my plank 1 minute, then oh my God, 1 minute, it's a long time, right? But then also 1 minute of meditation, it's huge different. It's ocean between 0 minutes, right? So thank you so much, and let's of course talk and open them. You've already touched a little bit about so many divine opportunities for people through this platform. You have created a community, many practice and helps for each other. And because also our podcast called Diversity is the Game Changer, and I know it's like kind of black backlash in US, which I also believe it's kind of really strange things that we know everything is evolving, developing, and it just labels DEI, or it doesn't matter actually how we label, but diversity of thoughts. We all unique, we all diverse. That's how we survive. Our species, biodiversity, human diversity is because we can complement each other. And I would like to ask you to present, of course, this platform, and how and why does diversity of thoughts matter in this, of course, very conscious platform? How actually inclusion is taken care of? That's I believe the most important. That we, like you said, the best practice you do, like Buddha said, because we are all different and we practice differently, right? So tell us then about platform and diversity of thoughts and inclusion through this platform. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for the question. So Mindset Social, which is mindset-social.com, really is an effort to bring people together that are from different places. I mean, one of the beautiful pieces of technology, of course, is we can have a world community and people can hear about things from different places and different ways of learning. And so diversity of thought, I mean, ultimately mindfulness expands our capacity for multiple perspectives. When we can really empathetically take the position of another and appreciate it fully without losing our own position or our own sort of perspective, that makes us more robust and more mindful. And I think that's really important because there's value everywhere. Everyone has a touch of genius and a unique perspective on whatever a circumstance is. And to lose that is to lose that. Even our next door neighbor, who we may think is a lot like us, especially if we live in a small town somewhere, that person is completely different than us. They have a different family. They have a different history. They have different experiences when nobody is around and the door is closed and it's just their family. And if when we walk out on the street and we meet them on the street, we think that they're just like us, we're missing an opportunity for both of us to grow. There's this idea that, well, there's a comfort in familiarity, but that can become stagnant. It can become sort of a disease that we put onto another person. Oh, I know you, so you got to be like the thing I know. Well, maybe that person wants to grow and change. And so us, by being too familiar with them, we do them a disservice. And so I think it's really important to stay open-minded to all possibilities. And so Mindset Social is a welcoming community. We now, I think, have meetups scheduled in 60 cities around the world. They're just seeds at this point because we're really just building the bus system for mindful people and people interested in self-awareness and personal growth. But we're planting these seeds all over the world as fast as we can because we want to bring people together to be in a conversation, because frankly, conventional culture in most places is pretty mundane. It's pretty vacuous. That's not a negative judgment. That's not pejorative. But what it is it's, if we don't dig in a little bit to deeper meaning and purpose, let's not be surprised as a world community that we don't experience meaning and purpose. It's up to each of us to get curious about what we do not know and what we do not understand, because and mindfulness encourages, it makes us, the muscle of curiosity, much more strengthened and fearless. Sometimes I don't know about in your culture, but there's sort of, when people say they don't know something in the United States, they often are embarrassed. And it's so bizarre, because how could you know everything? How could you know something ahead of time? And so I want to open it up so people can ask questions. And mindfulness actually really strengthens our personal resolve in our curiosity, that it's okay to ask any question. Even if everyone else knows the answer, it's okay. Because it's about our personal path and to stand in that power. And so, I love traveling to different cultures because I have no idea what's going on when I get there. And then it's perfectly okay to ask a million questions because I'm the foreigner. That becomes my identity. And I love that. And so, but if we could embrace that on a daily basis, even in our hometown, then I think we'll find there's a lot more diversity around us. And life can be a lot richer and more exciting. Diversity, differences. You don't go out to the same restaurant and eat the same meal every time. Why would you want to spend time with the exact same people saying the exact same things all the time? Let's seek as a world community to be more inclusive, to be more diverse, because truly the alternative is isolating, and feels like death. It feels like, oh, growth isn't happening. There's a word for things that don't grow. It's called dead. And we don't want to be that. We want to be alive. And so to be alive is to truly open up to multiple perspectives, different sorts of people, different sorts of places, and to see that each brings a unique value.
Amazing. Yes, thank you so much. Because it was also one of my statements before even I start my show, like to be different, or to be dead, like, because it's true. It's, if you doesn't evolve, how you can survive. And it's also one of the right, the list from the mindfulness, also about John Kabat-Zinn, the beginner's mind, right? To be like, okay, small child mind, beginner's mind, always try to be open and not to judge better or worse, because it's just different. It's just different. And then actually you already, like, you are not explaining, I don't know, like exclude and plan. You explore, right? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I want to say something to that real quick. Like, if 10 years ago and now you're the exact same person, exactly, how did you go 10 years
10
without
months,
growing?
10 months, 10 days, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, but how did, like, just, that's an important reflection for everyone, is like, do you want to be the exact same person 10 years from now? Or are you the exact same person that you were 10 years ago? And so sometimes I use the example or the metaphor of a tree. A 5-year-old tree can't be 15 years old. It's a 5-year-old tree. And it's not better or worse than a 15-year-old tree. They're at different stages in their evolution and their growth. And so the same is true for each of us, is embrace what is in front of you. Embrace what is you today. That's what ultimately helps it grow and flourish. And the difference between doing it mindlessly and mindfully is when we're in our experiences, they affect us. They change us. When we sort of go through the experiences but aren't really effective or affected and sort of stay the same, we're actually not in our experiences. Sometimes I use the example of when two people that haven't seen each other for a really long time get together for dinner. Sometimes they're so excited to see each other and they're so having so much fun and it's a great time. But afterwards, they recognize that they were just excited the whole time and they weren't actually fully in the experience. And it was fun, but it didn't really sink in a deep, meaningful way. It was just fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a difference between pausing and honoring what's unfolding and the presence and the connection in a way that either is really happy or sad or some deep emotion or whatever it is. Oh, I missed you, or some deeper meaning. And when we have those sorts of experiences, we grow, we change. Both are important experiences, but don't have all one or the other. Have some of both.
Yeah, amazing. And I love. I have very visual mind, so all kind of metaphor, I really clearly see them immediately. And about trees, yes, it's so true. 5 years tree actually doesn't need to be 15 years tree. It's the same about diversity. Roses in botanical garden never compete with lilies and orchids. Come on, they love themselves because they are roses and orchids. And that's why we love botanical garden, because we go and see even roses but different colors of roses, right? Why they should
Hmm.
all the same? So there is nothing like that. Sometimes we actually just should open our eyes, all the answers around us in our nature.
Well, and
Just pause, breathe, and embrace, and like, oh my God, really, like nature, almost the most inclusive CEO. Nature, whether you're black, white, religion, what kind of religion, age, I don't know, all kind of diversity. For nature, when you walk through the forest, for trees, nature, like, treat you the same.
hmm hmm well,
Exactly.
and with language, sometimes the difference is just linguistic. The word for water in Spanish is agua. In Hindi, it's pani. But we just want the water. We don't have to argue about what it's called. In different languages, it'll be called differently. And so, when we really recognize that most people want similar things and to get those needs met in different ways, the challenge from a diversity and inclusion perspective is ultimately it boils down to privilege, right? Like when one group with privilege says, no, our way is the right way.
Mhm.
And it's no, all ways are the right ways. And it's about sort of making space for those other ways and learning from those other ways, not just tolerating them, but embracing them, celebrating them, because ultimately we're one human family.
Amazing. It on this wave, I would like to continue to our next topic, which is so very important for me, and we've been already pre-touched in our first conversation about neurodiversity, or being also differently wired in our brains, cognitive function, right? And then I do believe we still have even longer path to practice really embracing and celebrating. We still need to overcome like kind of taboo and prejudice, because still it's us and them, these awkward people. And I have OCD divergence, neurodivergence, and sometimes really severe. And it's not that, like, now I feel even like some people, they use it in daily vocabulary just to, and I'm not against it. I understand some people like, oh, I have OCD about that. And then in my brain, oh yes, you do. You have no idea what actually OCD, really OCD, like, And I know you mentioned last time when you and me just say hi and a light vibrations, but actually last autumn was so severe OCD episode. I've been in mental institution for that, and I actually opened my podcast in pajama there. First time I was so bad. And then it was my calling to help other people, to share my experience knowledge like you do, right? You at the one point wanted to share and help, not like it was your job or paid money or something. And the same for me. Now I would like to share, to be a role model, and to involve as many as possible people with this deep knowledge like yourself about creating more inclusive community, society, world. Or what could you then tell, recommend people who practice mindfulness, how to be even more, maybe, I don't know, inclusive towards people who has extra uniqueness, let's put it like that, because many people just call disability, disorder, dysfunction. Yes, it's just about words, but disorder much better to tell, not disorder but disorder, different order, not disabilities but different abilities. I'm advocating that, when I put label, for me 15 years I am disabled. So after a couple of, I don't know, weeks, you start believing that you are disabled, right? But now I'm talking about my different abilities, my different order in my brain wiring. Then for me it's much better even to talk to myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the question. One of the things that I think happens early on in development is we fear differences.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the really key pieces around mindful practice is as we develop a rich inner life and trust our own awareness, rather than fearing the unknown, we start to get curious about the unknown and differences. And I think ultimately that creates a healing space, not healing as in resolution, but in relational healing, that we can connect to wherever someone is, and honor that, and learn from it, not just to do it to be nice. I mean, there's that piece of like offering somebody respect and dignity, but also because one of the things that has happened for me personally through my practice
Mm-hmm.
is I feel like I can learn from any situation. And so
Mm-hmm.
nothing is a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And people often are like, wow, you listen to that same story again or whatever. It's never a waste of time because I'm not always learning exactly what the other person maybe wants me to learn. But I'm learning what I need to learn. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's watching my own reactions, my own fear, my own judgments, my own whatever comes up for me. And so I think that's one of the real gifts of mindful practice is we realize that whatever experience we're having is valuable because we're having it. And whatever experience somebody else is having is valuable because they're having it. And that there's riches to be mined from every experience. It's part of the reason why I'm enjoying this conversation is because every time I get interviewed or have a conversation on a podcast, it's different. The questioner is different. Some of the stories are similar. Some of the stuff about my background is similar. And yet, every time there's nuance. What you said about nicknames is landing really great. This is where without a new perspective, we don't get new information. And to recognize that new information can come from anywhere and anyone, and really valuable information, and to not overly assign value based on some linear scale. It's one of the gifts of emotional intelligence to say that there's something other than just IQ. Like, in fact, there's multiple intelligences. You study Howard Gardner's work, or read some Ken Wilber or something like that. There's lines of development. There's different ways of knowing. And that's one of the gifts of mindfulness is most of my own knowing doesn't come from intellect. That's sort of what is the filter through which people get it, because that's where language comes on board and then describes subtle experience. But most of my most valuable insights over the last 30 years have come from my body. And
Embodiment.
even,
That's why we call it embodiment, right?
yeah, and even in this moment, I'm not talking to you head to head. I'm talking more belly to belly or heart to heart. And you
Yeah.
can feel the difference. When somebody's just up in their head talking, eventually you just get sleepy because it's just like regurgitating stuff. And the moment somebody is actually embodied and might be saying the exact same stuff, you're like, wow, that really lands. And so I think that, that capacity through mindful practice to be embodied, to connect to another person for real, not just intellectually, is so valuable, because then everybody becomes a beacon for learning.
Amazing. I can relate because I feel the same. And recently, I've got so many questions from my friends like, Valeria, but every time you have different guests and different subjects, and maybe like couple of shows, like, day after day, are you not like scared? Because, it's not my mother tongue. It's, you never know, like how the conversation can be in the flow or not, or you should really somebody, the fear of stage, or even like running the show, it's even more than, I don't know, phobia of snakes or everything. And I can reflect, and I was talking to myself actually how I am feeling during the show. Like, first of all, it's all the time different because it's different persons, it's different knowledge, but this is the most beautiful mindful moment of my day. Because even when I meditate, my mind, we know it's like a pop, right? It's in the past, future. I try to put this like, back to the presence fully. But when I'm here now together with you, right, so I'm fully present. I'm just here, just listening. I'm not good listener, I can confess. That's why I really practice even mindful listening now. Without, when I started my show, I kind of had an interview guide, and I also was not that mindful because I was more scared. I could not relax and breathe normally and absorb and enjoy information. So I kind of already planned the next question without actually mindfully listening what is person talking. But now I decided, no, this is the right moment to be so mindful. And I'm actually planning a little bit, of course, but I'm trying really, really 100% to be mindful and listen and feel what you're talking, another person here and now, like, giving me this signal. And then I'm really uh, selectively taking these gems in my brain, like you have uh, taken from our conversation about nicknames. For me, I know, of course, I felt a lot, but these gems like explore, explain, now they are for me like forever, because I was so present, so mindful. I didn't like jump over, and it's really the joyful moment, so deep moment. So yes, maybe of course it's a little bit like, uh, I don't know, a special kind of feeling. I start, I listen in my body. It's of course a little bit not, it's not I'm afraid or freaking out, but it kind of, I don't know, this is emotion, but it should be like that, of course. It's actually what I like about that, right? How I feel alive, not dead. Like, okay, if I'm sitting like this is motion, like this, let's even out. Would you like to be really present and mindful and really giving me your soul now? No, but when I'm sitting just like that, really like that, and we just on the small desktop, right? So it's amazing feeling. So I immensely appreciate, and I'm so grateful for just gems you have given me to really experience that, about this mindful experience. And before we wrapping up, I would like us to play a little bit, because we started from our childhood a little bit. Childhood always, for me at least, it's kind of metaphorical magic and fairy tales, and I don't have that big team or crew, but I have my vice president. She's here. This is my vice president, you see. Yeah, very mindful, little, but oh my God, very hard working. And you know from which fairy tale this little cutie, right?
Aladdin, right?
Yes, of course. And this also I try to learn. She's also very present and mindful, especially when she has to make somebody wish to come true. A little bit a sustainable approach to give possibility to all my guests. So she cannot grant 3 wishes, but 1 wish. Absolutely. So my game or I don't know, rolling question, wrapping up question is, what would be your wish for my vice president today? What is your wish? It can be for you, for humanity, for me. It doesn't matter. What is exactly mindfully in your soul, body, just right now? Thank you.
My wish is pretty consistent, and that wish is that everyone in the entire world would learn to fully love themselves and to embrace that and to know that that is possible for them.
Wow, this is so important because believe me or not, I still have problems with that every single day because from the childhood in the culture I've been raised up, it was not a subject, it was not allowed, it was system. You are nothing. You just should be a part of a system just for the society, just to be useful for others, but useful even to be allowed to do what you like, what you want. Are you crazy? There is nothing that you have right to choose what you like. And now I'm 45 this year after I just had discovered compassion, love and kindness, mindfulness, and yoga and Buddhism. Just last 3 years, I started planting seeds, which I'm working to deliver every day. Because in the first moments, I even could not pronounce it, that I love myself. Like, what? There is nothing what can be like that. So thank you so much. I'm sure many people, they are like really rolling up their eyes now. Maybe they are in this first day, which was my day, was 3 years ago. Because everything starts from there, right? I do
Mm-hmm.
believe if we actually have been taught that from childhood, we would never have conflicts. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Then we have everything inside. We actually have everything inside us,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, thank you so much. So thank you, our audience, again. I knew it would be divine episode for me. I was a little bit nervous because basically last week I actually will not be using English at all. Yeah, so I feel a little bit, it's practice. Everything what is the best in our life, that's why it's called meditation practice, not perfection. You have to use this time and practice every single day, this muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Oh, well
Okay,
put.
thank you so much. We had no time. Next time I can it can be just our first episode because I have still so many questions to you, and I love the idea. I believe I read on LinkedIn, or maybe you mentioned like CMO, now chief mindfulness officer. I thought,
Mm.
wow, amazing. I've never like reflected about that. And next time we can talk a little bit, we can also flow a little bit with business. Today I just wanted really you and me, like, connect with our inner spaces, and
Mm.
we succeeded.
Wow. Well, it's been a pleasure, Val.
Yes, thank you. So just want to wrap up with some words for our audience, that inclusion, diversity are awareness, everything in action. Diversity in thoughts, background, neurotype, everything, like you've mentioned, that we are so beautiful because we are different, then we are alive.
Mm.
And then we can experience, then actually we can just complete each other. We don't need to compete. We already complete all, like, we are holiness, right? And when
Mm-hmm.
we are all together, we stay stronger. And no matter what happens now, and we know in Ukraine, all different countries, we still mindfulness, being mindful, be curious, be kind. It's the most important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well said.
Thank you so much. I wish you a blissful day. And I'm looking forward to actually be more active now after I'm done with my PhD in all activities which your platform are capable of. And maybe just last words to our audience, how again it's pronounced, and how where they can apply, how they can be a member of your society.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Mindset Social, which is MINDSET dash social, SOCIAL.com. So visit us there. You can also visit our root website, which is mindfulwork.com, and that has links to all of our platforms and various things. And reach out on LinkedIn. I think I'm at the maximum amount of connections, so I don't think I can connect, but we offer a couple of newsletters on LinkedIn and other places, so love to see folks.
Thank you. Love yourself. Stay safe. And until next time. Yes.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.